Helen Ukpabio. The name evokes a spectrum of reactions in Nigeria. She is a woman who has straddled two seemingly disparate worlds, Nollywood and evangelical Christianity. Ukpabio first gained fame as an actress and filmmaker in the burgeoning Nigerian film industry. Her early career saw her starring in and producing films that often centered around themes of love, betrayal, and societal issues. However, it was her subsequent foray into evangelical Christianity that would truly catapult her into the national consciousness. Ukpabio underwent a highly publicized religious transformation, renouncing her past life in the secular world. She founded the Liberty Gospel Church, where she became known for her fiery sermons and pronouncements against what she deemed as spiritual wickedness. Her church, located in Calabar Cross River State, became a hub for those seeking spiritual guidance and deliverance. Ukpabio's transition from Nollywood starlet to charismatic preacher was as dramatic as any of the films she had once starred in. This shift in focus from entertainment to evangelism, however, would prove to be far more consequential, sparking debates and controversies that continue to resonate to this day. Her story is a complex tapestry woven with threads of faith, fear, and the enduring power of belief. Ukpabio's venture into filmmaking did not end with her religious conversion. Instead, she merged her newfound faith with her cinematic sensibilities, creating a series of films that reflected her evangelical beliefs. These films, often categorized as Christian movies, differed starkly from the romantic dramas and comedies that were staples of Nollywood. Ukpabio's films were morality tales, cautionary narratives imbued with a deep sense of spiritual warfare. End of the Wicked, Highway to the Grave, and Married to a Witch are just a few titles that offer a glimpse into the thematic preoccupations of Ukpabio's cinematic universe. These films often depicted the battle between good and evil in stark, uncompromising terms. Witchcraft, demonic possession, and the dangers of straying from the righteous path formed the crux of her narratives. Ukpabio's films were not mere entertainment, they were extensions of her pulpit, vehicles for disseminating her particular brand of Christian theology. Her protagonists were often devout Christians battling against the forces of darkness, while her antagonists were frequently portrayed as practitioners of witchcraft or individuals under the influence of demonic entities. These films, while popular among her followers, would also draw sharp criticism for their portrayal of witchcraft and the potential real-world consequences of such depictions. Ukpabio's films, with their vivid depictions of witchcraft and demonic activity, sparked a wave of controversy. Critics argued that these films, far from being harmless entertainment, had real-world implications, particularly in a society where belief in witchcraft was deeply entrenched. Accusations arose linking Ukpabio's films to a surge in witch hunts and violence against individuals, particularly children, accused of practicing witchcraft. The films, it was argued, provided a template, a framework through which individuals could interpret misfortune or unusual occurrences as the result of witchcraft. The fear and paranoia engendered by these films, critics asserted, created an environment where accusations of witchcraft could easily be leveled against individuals, often with little to no evidence. Children in particular were often targeted, branded as witches and blamed for misfortunes ranging from illness to financial hardship. The accusations often stemmed from superstitious beliefs and a lack of understanding of mental health issues or natural phenomena. These children, ostracized and demonized by their own families and communities, faced horrific abuse and neglect. The social fabric of communities, particularly in parts of southeastern Nigeria, frayed under the weight of suspicion and fear fueled by witchcraft accusations. The mere suggestion of witchcraft could shatter families, pit neighbor against neighbor, and erode the bonds of trust that held communities together. Accusations, often rooted in personal vendettas, jealousy, or a desire to seize property or settle scores, became a tool of social control and manipulation. The climate of fear and suspicion had a chilling effect on social interactions. People became wary of those around them, hesitant to trust even close friends and family members. The fear of being labeled a witch or being associated with someone accused of witchcraft led to widespread paranoia and social isolation. This atmosphere of fear and distrust had a particularly devastating impact on children. Accused children were often subjected to horrific abuse. They were ostracized from their families, driven from their homes, and denied education and healthcare. Some were subjected to exorcisms involving starvation, beatings, and forced ingestion of dangerous substances. Section 5. Children at the Crossroads. The plight of the accused. The plight of children accused of witchcraft became a stain on the conscience of society. These children, stripped of their innocence and labeled as agents of evil, were often subjected to unimaginable cruelty and neglect. Driven from their homes, ostracized by their communities and denied basic human rights, they became pariahs, living embodiments of society's deepest fears. The psychological trauma inflicted on these children was immeasurable. Forced to confront the darkest impulses of humanity at such a tender age, they often struggled to make sense of their experiences. Many carried the scars of their trauma long after they escaped the clutches of their abusers, grappling with feelings of worthlessness, fear, and anger. The stories of these children, though often whispered in hushed tones, serve as a stark reminder of the devastating consequences of ignorance, superstition, and the abuse of power. Their experiences underscore the urgent need for education, social reform, and a collective commitment to protecting the most vulnerable members of society. Section 6. A daughter's defense countering the narrative. Amidst the swirling controversy and damning accusations, a lone voice emerged, offering a different perspective, that of Ima Elijah, Helen Ukpabio's daughter. Ima vehemently defended her mother, challenging the narrative that painted her as a catalyst for violence and fear. She argued that her mother was being unfairly targeted, made a scapegoat for deeply rooted societal problems. Ima posited that her mother's teachings, far from promoting violence, were intended to offer hope and deliverance. She contended that the accusations of witchcraft leveled against individuals, particularly children, stemmed not from her mother's films or sermons, but from pre-existing beliefs and superstitions that had long plagued Nigerian society. Instead, Ima offered an alternative explanation for the attacks on her mother's character. She claimed that these criticisms were orchestrated by powerful forces threatened by her mother's growing influence and her refusal to align with certain interests. Ima's defense, while unwavering, did little to quell the controversy surrounding her mother. Section 7. The Price of Belief. Voices from the Marginalized. For those whose lives had been irrevocably altered by accusations of witchcraft, Ima's defense rang hollow. They bore the physical and emotional scars of a society gripped by fear and superstition, a society where accusations of witchcraft could lead to ostracism, violence, and even death. Their stories, often marginalized and silenced, painted a starkly different picture. There was the young boy, barely a teenager, who bore the burn marks from where he had been doused with kerosene and set alight by his own family, convinced he was possessed by an evil spirit. There was the elderly woman, ostracized from her community, forced to live in isolation on the outskirts of the village, accused of bringing illness upon her neighbors. Theirs were stories of pain, loss, and the enduring trauma of being labeled as different, as dangerous, as other. These voices, often drowned out by the cacophony of debate and denial, served as a stark reminder of the human cost of ignorance and the urgent need for compassion and understanding. Section 8. The Power and the Peril. Ukpabio's enduring influence. Despite the controversies that have dogged her career, Helen Ukpabio's influence remains undeniable. She continues to command a large and devoted following, drawn to her message of spiritual warfare and deliverance. Her church thrives, attracting thousands to her services every week. Ukpabio's critics argue that her continued influence poses a danger, that her teachings perpetuate harmful beliefs and practices. They point to the ongoing accusations of witchcraft, the violence inflicted upon those accused, as evidence of the enduring legacy of her work. Ukpabio, however, remains unapologetic. She continues to preach her message of spiritual warfare, urging her followers to be vigilant against the forces of darkness. Her sermons, often delivered with theatrical flair, resonate with those seeking meaning and solace in a world often perceived as chaotic and unpredictable. Section 9. A legacy marred by controversy. Helen Ukpabio's life and work defy easy categorization. She is a complex figure, a woman of contradictions, who has simultaneously inspired and alienated, empowered and endangered. Her legacy is a tangled web of faith, fear, and the enduring power of belief. Her defenders see her as a courageous woman of God, a voice of truth in a world shrouded in darkness. They point to the countless lives she has touched, the solace she has offered, the healing she has brought. Her detractors view her as a dangerous demagogue, a purveyor of fear and superstition, whose teachings have had devastating real-world consequences. Whatever one's stance on Helen Ukpabio, one thing is certain: her story is a cautionary tale, a reminder of the power of belief to both heal and destroy, to unite and divide. It is a story that continues to unfold, its final chapter yet to be written.